Hi everybody, we are live. So just coming on a minute or so early to give people a chance to log on. So good afternoon. Hope you're all doing great. So welcome to 1000 Black Boys October 2020. We're going to start very, very shortly. So my name is Ademola. So I'm just going to just logging on about a minute or so earlier to allow people who registered to come online. So I'm still here. So let me put this up so you can see what we're doing today. Yep, so I'm still here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being on. Great to have you on. So we're starting very, very shortly. Starting very, very shortly. Hi, how are you doing? Feel free to send us comments. Thank you to all of you who registered. So it's 3:30 right now. So we're gonna start in about a minute or so, just to give people some more chance to log on. But literally, as soon as it hits, let's say 32, so 3:32, we're gonna make a start. And let me show you my face. Hi, hello everybody, how are you doing? So thank you for being on, thank you for being online. I hope you're having a very interesting Friday. I hope you're having a very interesting and exciting October. We're in for an amazing session today. We've got some incredible speakers. They're going to share lots of wisdom, lots of knowledge. Some of them are going to talk about financial wisdom and financial things that you should know, especially during the time of COVID. And then we're going to talk to some other people, Nana, After Jazz. I'll show you the agenda very, very shortly. Just going to share examples of people who've been through difficult and challenging things, and how for you, what you can learn from them and to not let 2020 get you down. And then we're going to do a session towards the end with a group of incredible young people. They are very much musical, they're artists, they're doing lots of different productions, and they're kind of people that you probably wouldn't hear about, but they're doing some amazingly phenomenal things that we think you should definitely be hearing about. So they're going to be the last team that's speaking with us today from 5:30 till 6. So this is really to inspire you. This is really to encourage you. This is literally to have you look up and enjoy life, and to not get demotivated and get beaten up by the news over the last 30 plus weeks. Okay, so it's now 32. So quick introductions. My name is Ademola. Ademola Adeyeba. I'm the founder of 1000 Black Boys. And if you see me looking over to this side, it's because I've got two screens with me. And this screen to my right-hand side, maybe to your left as you're looking at me, has some of the things that I want to go through with you today. So let me let that load up. Here we go. Yeah, I mean, so you're joining us at 1000 Black Boys, and this is our October event. So this is our third virtual event, and it's our fifth one. And you might have got an email about this. Maybe you're just seeing this on your stream and it's coming up. Yeah, get involved. So literally, who are we, and also why are we doing this? So who we are is we are a group of entrepreneurs, business professionals. We are coaches. We're mentors. We're people just like you that have got an absolute passion to make a difference to our community and to make a difference to Black boys and young Black men. So it's a real passion of ours, and it's definitely a generation and a group of people that we want to make a difference to. Hi there, Daniel. Thank you for joining us. So we've always seen the media's narrative. Especially when it comes to Black boys and young Black men, and especially when it comes to the Black community in general. So we've always seen that. And what we're passionate about is that we get to tell our story. Is that we get to do things that really make a difference to us, and we don't leave it to other people. So that's why we're doing this, and that's why we are definitely here today. And we've seen things within the school system. We've seen things in terms of challenges, financially, economically, all of these things, police interactions, all of that stuff. So we've seen all of that. We've seen all the negativity. And what we want to do is put lots of positive energy out there, so that people can see that there is great and incredible potential within our community, And if you are a young black boy, a young black man who's listening to this, we want you to know that you carry and you have incredible potential. You have phenomenal potential. And we, even though we don't know you yet, we are committed that you fulfill that potential and that you do the things that you are here to do, the things that you're passionate about, and that you make a difference to the whole planet. So that's our commitment. So our message is certainly one of potential. It's about vision. It's about power. We're definitely about that. And the speakers you're going to see today, people that are going to speak today, you're going to see them demonstrate that. Just changing my screen again. So this one's going to talk about why we're doing this right now. So we do this at the start of all of our events. We've started doing this at the start of our virtual events. We want you to know about our vision. So for us, we exist to inspire black boys and young black men to unleash their potential and to live a life of purpose. So that's why we exist. That's what we're here for. So that's a short version of our vision. If I give you the slightly longer one. So we exist to empower and enable black boys and young black men to discover their greatness, to unleash their uniqueness, to innovate and to create things that have never been done before. It's really important. We want them to have the audacity to dream big. That's huge. We want them to be forward thinking. We want them to look ahead to the future and not to be dragged down by the things in the past. And in so doing that, transform the world. So that's what we stand for, and that's the full part of our vision. And why are we doing this right now? So we've all been through, we've seen the things in 2020. It's a very interesting year, to say the least. The impact of the lockdown. There's now talk of potentially a second lockdown in the UK. People all over the globe have been impacted and affected by this. And because I do lots of coaching with people, so I do lots of work with people. And a lot of people that I'm speaking with, a lot of them are down. And a lot of people that I've been speaking with and coaching, some of them that are incredibly talented and incredibly gifted, they've kind of said, do you know what? 2020 is cancelled. It's a write-off for me. I want to regroup and I'm going to come back again next year. And I'm just there thinking, no, don't do that. Like, it's not time to do that. It's not time to cancel 2020. We are in October, so we've still got two months plus left to go. We've still got the whole of November. We've still got December. And we've still got another few days to go this month. So we're certainly about, it's not time for you to say goodbye to 2020 and to write it off. We know that there have been challenges. We know that things have been difficult. But if you're still breathing, you are still in the game, and it's not time to give up. So if you're still breathing, if your alarm goes off in the morning and you hear it and you take your breath and you're alive, it means that you are still in the game. So that's why we're doing this today and tomorrow. And a lot of the speakers that you're going to see, you're going to get a chance to interact with through the chat. And also, hopefully, after the event, you can reach out to them for continued mentorship and development. You're going to see that they are about why 2020 is not cancelled, why you absolutely still have a lot of things to do, and there's many more things to be achieved. Okay, so, and it's also very, very important with all the things that have been given to us in the news, the things we're hearing in the media and just around us, it's important that we're not afraid. It's important that we're not people that are angry or people that are confused by all of these things. So for us, we're definitely about that. You don't be angry, don't be afraid, and don't be confused. Don't do it. Don't do it. We want you to be clear, to be powerful, to be focused, and to be strategic. It's really key. If you do that, you're now using a different part of your brain, the frontal lobe, and that part of your brain allows you to make powerful choices and to be creative and to find solutions to challenges. So we want you to use this part of your brain. And ultimately, we don't want you to be victims of circumstances and to be at the effect of life. We don't want that for you because you've got too much power. And we want you to use that power to make things happen in life. So that's why we are here today and tomorrow. And that's why the speakers you're going to meet very, very shortly are all about that. Okay. Let's go to my next screen. So welcome, thank you for coming on. And if you are online with us, just press share and share this on your page so more people can see it, so that it reaches more human beings. So we know within the community that it takes a village to raise a child. So that's why our events are always open to parents. So even though our focus is Black boys and young Black men aged 10 to 25, our events are open to parents, grandparents, guardians, sisters, uncles, every single person who wants to make a difference to that generation. And as well as the people that you hear from today and tomorrow, as I've touched on, there'll be some of them are providing programs which are mentorship programs, so that you can go into those mentorship programs that can support you as you are developing and as you are growing through life. Because we know this is only one day, and tomorrow is the second day, and then that's it. We're not going to be here doing this again till December. But in between that, you still need support. So they'll be there for you. So we're streaming this live on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on Twitter through Periscope. So if you are on any of those platforms, just press share and let more people see this. And I'm going to quickly go through the agenda with you as well, so you can see what's in store. And while you're there, feel free to comment, feel free to interact and talk with me, because normally I would do workshops, but because of what we're seeing right now, we've gone virtual. So you absolutely can interact and comment and let us know how this is going for you. So the first person we're planning to have come up very, very shortly is Jazz Rose, who is the founder of Money Mastery. And his topic is about how you transform your relationship with money, and literally how you can master money, especially now when there's a talk of recession, there's talk of unemployment. And I was looking at something a couple of weeks ago. I was talking about the prospects for young people, especially under 24 or 24 and under, that their prospects are massively impacted as a result of COVID-19 and the lockdown. And it's mainly doom and gloom, right? So we want to give you different ways to win in that system, for you to be successful. So that's one of the things that Jazz will talk about. And then after that, I'm going to do a session about the power of perception. So literally, it's really key. So the power of perception. So this totally determines what you do in life. It's huge, huge. And then after that, we've got an amazing person, Nana from Unique Abilities Limited. So he's going to be speaking as well. And he's talking about him growing up and as a young man, as a Black boy dealing with a disability, and how he was able to literally deal with that. And then lastly, we're going to have this amazing team from an organization called Wasted Talent. They are very creative. They work with young people who are incredibly talented and incredibly gifted, who are maybe stuck with things in life, or maybe they don't see how they can be successful, especially at a time like this. So these guys deal with the creatives. So if it's somebody's like a young actor, a musician, an artist, wherever it is, their team works with that kind of person. So that's today's agenda. And then tomorrow, for those of you that are going to be joining us tomorrow, let me just scroll down, bear with me. So tomorrow we're going to start again at 3:30. And we're talking with the team at Ultra Entrepreneurs. And what Ultra do is they do entrepreneurship programs, and they basically support children from the age of 8 to 11 to start businesses. So they work with young people to basically start their own companies and to start their own businesses. So Marsh is going to be talking about what they've done, how it works, and all of this. And there's also a chance that she's going to have her daughter be on the line with us as well, just to literally give you a hands-on experience from a 15-year-old who set up a business. And then after that, we're talking about finances again, and literally strategies to be powerful with your money. And and Ralph and Sophie are going to be talking about that and sharing their expertise. And they're also launching a program very, very shortly that people can get trained on in terms of finances, how to be financially literate and how to navigate and thrive in the system. And after that, we've got Ajani speaking about a very, very important topic that often gets overlooked. It's a very sensitive subject about abuse. And we're going to treat that subject very, very delicately. So he's talking about that, and he's talking about his experience as well, and also talking about his book, which is Stories Boys Don't Like to Tell. So he's going to tell us a bit more about that. And then lastly, we're going to have another amazing bunch of people. They're from a team called London Rebels. They have a radio station. They're also very, very musical, very, very creative. They're a bunch of young artists, and they're going to share how they've been able to grow their business and also how they've dealt with the various different challenges and all of this. So that's tomorrow. And then lastly, myself, Ademola, I'm going to close off the session, and then we'll be able to let you know what's next. So just hold the line for me. Let me just, so I'm using a studio here. So let me just check whether our next speaker is ready. Please bear with me. Okay, for me. Still see me here, bear with me. Pam, can you call him? Alrighty, okay. Let me stop showing this one. Let me go through this. So just a slight delay with the next speaker. So what I'm going to do is, hi there, Mia. So I'm going to go straight into the presentation after Jazz's one. Okay, apparently he's jumping in right now, so please hold the line for me. So for those of you that have tuned in, that are online, just share, like, who are you, where are you from, why you came on today. It'd be great to get some interaction, and please do not be shy. I can see Maya or Mia. Hello, Mia. Thank you for dialing in. Donnell Grant, thank you for sharing that. Much appreciated. Okay, bear with me. Just looking at my studio. Bear with me 1 second. Yeah, Pam, I want to go to my session. Okay. He's on in the studio. Okay, so not sure if you heard that in the background, but that's my my wife in the background, tag team. So Jazz is in the room with us, so let me bring him live. And I'll let him give a quick introduction about who he is and what he does, and also why he does it. Very inspiring person. I'm also going to have him share his background. So he started at a very, very young age, and he had an opportunity to go down one route in life as a footballer, and then something happened. So there was this thing called life, and a challenge showed up. But he was still able to persevere and to see it through. So I'm going to bring him live very, very short. Let's have a look.
Hey, Ade, how's it going?
Jazz, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you, sir?
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for being on.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure, King.
I kind of caught myself there a little bit. I was going to give you like an introduction, but I thought maybe I'll let you do it. But I definitely love your story. I didn't know that until I saw your video. I was like, really? So that's what happened. So that's why that's how you got to where you are today. So just give us a brief background about who you are, what you do, and how you got here.
Yeah, sure. I'm Jazz Rose, and essentially I founded a company called Money Mastery, and essentially what I helped people to do is to transform their relationship with money. And I pretty much started out. Is the audio clear, by the way?
Yeah, it's clear for me.
Yeah, perfect. I started out pretty much like everyone else.
Is the audio clear for you? But yeah, keep going. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So great. So I pretty much started out like most other people. I grew up in Harlesden, and my grandma always used to say to me, "Well, if you lie with dogs, you will catch fleas." And she also used to say to me, "Or you can soar with the eagles," right? And I always wanted to soar with the eagles and live to my full potential. So between the ages of like 11 and 21, I used to play professional football for professional clubs, and I trained really hard and I got really, really good. Didn't really have natural talent, but I worked hard at it. And by the time I was 17, I was on the verge of signing my first full-time professional contract. And, I was meant to play this game, perform really well, and then sign the contract. And the new manager walked in, said, "The old manager's gone now. And, doesn't look like you've signed the paper. So see you later." And wow. Literally, that was like my football dreams, everything that I've been working so hard for.
As a 17-year-old as well. That must have been tough, right?
What's that?
I said, as a 17-year-old, that must have been challenging.
Yeah, man, it was crucifying. It was really crucifying. And like, I didn't even get to play the game. So yeah, it was pretty crushing. But I kept on sort of trying to become a professional footballer and training really hard and so on and so forth. But during that process, I actually got called to do something that I was really good at, which was coaching children's sport. And I used to work with a lot of people that I used to play football with and stuff, until one day, one of the managers that I was working for at the time, she said, "Jazz, I'm leaving coaching to go into full-time teaching. And since you're doing such a great job with the children after school, why don't you take over the service, and all you got to do extra is deliver the flyers." So I'm 17 at the time. I think deliver flyers, not a problem. And throughout that process, I went a lot further than delivering flyers. I actually started to learn every small business leadership skill that you can possibly imagine. So I learned about recruitment, I learned about sales, I learned about operational management, I learned about training, marketing, financial management, and so on. And I grew that business from having £30 a week to a £3 million turnover a year business in the space of 10 years.
Wow,
and appreciate it, man. And what I did every year or two with the profits that I was generating, as opposed to spend it, I would put it away and I would invest it into a property. And I grew the property portfolio to a stage now where it's a £3 million plus value property portfolio that now pays for my living expenses. So the work that I do now fundamentally is pure passion and for pure purpose, in order to help people to transform their relationship with money, because we often have a philosophy about money that it's quite difficult to attain, or it's quite difficult to get to a certain level. But you see, a lot of us, we're blocking the flow of money constantly to us through things like our language, our emotions, and the way that we think about money, and also the way that we use it. So yeah, that's why I do what I do in terms of helping people to transform their relationship with money today.
Okay, and just to ask, so there's some questions I definitely want to ask you. And for those of you that are on as well, please fire in any questions that you've got. What advice would you give a young person that's listening to this right now, and they're impacted by the lockdown and by the prospects, and it's maybe they're in education, or they're 12, 13. What advice would you give them at this age in terms of how to master money?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, everything that happens is a creation, right? So everything that everything that happens in life, it's not what happens to us, it's how we respond to it. Okay, so we can either use situations such as COVID and lockdowns, etc., to stifle us, or we can use it to propel us forward. So a short example, right? When COVID happened, a lot of schools shut down and so on and so forth. Literally, we lost one client. It wiped out 30% of our business. Okay, literally, like wiped out 30% of our business almost overnight. So what did we do? We had to adapt. So when I say everything is part of a creation, you have to take an experience and see it not as a devastating, crushing thing, but it's how you perceive it in your mind. Because when you perceive it as, okay, so where's the opportunity? Okay, so one of the things that happened for the lockdown for me was to really start to look at all of our finances and really get deep on it as to where all of our finances were going and why. Okay, so then I use this as an opportunity now to really start to get clear on our financial management and then utilize that. And then through that process, I created the money tracker, which allows people to then create and track their personal expenses. So I took it from a business failing or a business challenge to a business advantage, where now I'm able to distribute the money tracker to people and people are getting great value from it. And in return, that's replacing some of the income that was lost. Does that make sense?
And you created this during the lockdown?
Yeah. Because now we've got time. Now we've got our greatest asset back, right? People lose so much time traveling to school, traveling to work, and one of our biggest assets is being lost in that period of time. So now we've got that back. The question is, how are we going to utilize it in order to propel us forward?
I mean, do you know what's really coming across to me is something that you said, which I want everyone who's listening to this, whether you're watching this live or later on, is Jazz said, it's not what happens to you or to us that determines us, but how we respond to it. So what we do next, that's the really key thing. And it's almost like he knows what I'm going to be talking about after his session, because you also spoke about perception, how you perceive the thing is really important. And what I heard from you, Jazz, is you didn't perceive this whole lockdown and losing a third of your business through this one client as something to get demotivated about. It didn't beat you up, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. I pretty much started a new business, and one of the powerful things about becoming financially independent is that you stop worrying about money, which sounds pretty simple, right? But when you stop worrying about it, actually your work becomes more effective. So actually, in all of the business now that I own, I'm so much more effective because I'm not worried about or concerned about the constraints of the finances behind it, or what's going to happen if we try this and it doesn't work. Doesn't matter, right? So it's all about generating a mindset where we're working towards not necessarily an extraordinarily high income, but we're working towards a space of financial integrity and financial independence, so that our consciousness then becomes clear. Because our consciousness is often clouded by financial constraints that operate in the background. I want to start my own business, but not sure if I'll make it. Not sure if I'll generate the income. I want to do this, but I want to read more, but I'm not sure if, I'd rather tap away at the computer and get more work done. So when you're working towards a state of financial independence, then actually you simply work towards doing what it is you're calling, what it is you're being called to do, and your main purpose and your main driver in life.
Awesome. And also, because I'd like to also speak to parents as well, but maybe just some more things for the young people that are online. Because maybe it's me, because I think it's a big deal what you said. So you, as a young person, you played football from the age of 11, you said, right? So from 11 to 17, you're playing football. So that's a big chunk of your life. And you get to 17, you're about to sign a contract, which you've been super excited about. It didn't happen. And my partner asking, how old are you now? Let me ask you.
34.
Right. So you're still in the game. And you've created a business that's now £3 million plus. So as a young person watching this, what should they learn from that? What should they pick out from that?
Well, the first thing is that failure is only feedback. Okay, so going back to what I said earlier, everything is a creation. So that happened. What am I going to do to respond to that in order to accelerate forward? Sometimes we have a goal, we have a vision, we have an ambition that we want to get to, and it doesn't always operate in the ways that we think that it's going to operate. Let me tell you, and especially for the young people watching this and listening, right? Not becoming a professional footballer was one of the best things that happened to me. Okay, because now being a professional footballer looks glamorous, right? And I was good at football, but I wasn't great. I wasn't like Premiership level, right? So I was probably going to be in the sort of League 2, League 1, League 2, League 1 sort of positions, right? And one of the things that really scares the life out of me now is all of the traveling that I would have had to do if I'd have made it. Right, so like you've got a game tomorrow in Ipswich, and then now you've got to go in Ipswich, and then you have a 2-year contract with Ipswich, and then they say, oh well, you know, we're selling you to Blackpool. I don't want to live in Blackpool, as great as the city might be, right? But so much of your life as a professional footballer is determined by external forces that have nothing to do with you. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
by me not being able to make it as a professional footballer allowed me to start my business, which then allowed me to start to be more creative and to really own my time. As a footballer, being a footballer is great, don't get me wrong, there's great advantages to it, but I couldn't own my time in the same way that I own it now. And I couldn't own my time in the same way that I owned it 10 years ago when I was operating the business. And I couldn't be as creative as I possibly wanted to be. So, you know, everything is a creation. So when you get knocked back, it's about, how do I respond to this? What is this calling me? What is this propelling me? What is my emotions and my intelligence pushing me to do next? Because the fear or the doubt or the anxiety that we fear, it's all perfectly normal, and it's all perfectly there for a cause to cause you to do something and to think differently about it.
Awesome. And also, what would you say
Yeah, so I think we're just waiting for Ade to loop back in. What are the essential skills needed to become an entrepreneur? I think the first thing is will. And I call it the 3 Ds, right? Determination, dedication, and discipline. The determination is the determination to have a vision, something that you want to do, something that you want to create, and the determination to pull through and push through, because there's going to be lots of boundaries in your way, right? That you're going to need to jump over in order to push through on your journey. On your journey. So we need determination. We need dedication. Now we need dedication because, again, things are going to happen, things are going to come up, and you're going to need to jump over those hurdles, and you're going to need to keep doing that over a long period of time. And then we need the discipline to actually sit down and actually take accountability for everything that's happening in an entrepreneurship space. Everything that's happening in the business is very little to do with the external forces. It's very little to do with the clients. It's very little to do with all of the things outside, but it's actually to do with, it starts here. It starts with me, because I'm the leader. So whether you've got issues with staff, issues with clients, issues with compliance, issues with HMRC, whatever, it all starts with you. And one of the things that I would say that you've got to do is to make sure that you understand elements of, you have sufficient understanding of every single area of the business, so that when you pass it to somebody, you're not passing it blind. Right? A lot of entrepreneurs and high-level, high-profile people talk about, hiring people that are better than you in a certain space, right? One of the things that I missed during that experience of sort of listening to that guidance was, you've got to be really knowledgeable about that space, sufficient that you can pass the instructions and the guidance to the next person so that they can take it on. Otherwise, the other person takes it on and it becomes their business because they run it the way that they want to run it, which is not necessarily in alignment with the organic vision, the organic direction that you wanted to take it. So that's really important, is to understand all of the different areas of the business and get to grips with it, so that when colleagues, clients, etc. are talking to you, you have enough know-how in order to move that area of the business in the right direction and in the most powerful way forward. Just going back to what we were saying with Ade about finances, for young people, I think one of the most important things to get to grips with is that it's not necessarily how much you earn, but it's how much you keep. So whilst the amount that you earn is going to be advantageous, it's all about how much you keep in the long run in order to really start to sustain yourself. So it's quite good to have a pot of money that you earn, have a pot of money that you save, and have a pot of money that you invest. Right, so you might just want to set up 3 different bank accounts, or have 3 different sets of money, so that you start to use it in the most powerful way. Because when I put up something today on my Instagram, right, which basically said everybody, but between working 10 to 15 years, everyone should be in a stage of financial independence. And it doesn't matter whether you make 20,000 or 200,000. Okay, you've got to get into a stage of, a percentage of that money is not yours. You've got to put that aside for your financial independence. And anybody who says, well, that's almost impossible. Well, check this, the Queen, right? HMRC takes a proportion of your income before you get it. So you've got to get into a state of consciousness where you organically and naturally start to do that for yourself, so that, because evidently you're very important and your future is important. So you've got to put your future at the forefront and then start to invest in your future, so that it gives you much more choices and opportunities as you grow later in life.
Awesome, Jazz. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. My laptop just went. Someone saying no sound. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, there was no sound earlier. We got you now.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, so thank you for that. I think that's just like a demonstration of the things that we're talking about. So you know you're alive because things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if things don't happen to you in life, then you're not alive. And so I hope that what Jazz is talking to you about and what just happened with us over here, just a demonstration that things happen. Don't let it get you down. And absolutely do not cancel 2020. Because one of the things that Jazz was pointing to earlier is that this is your time. You've got your time back. And that's a commodity that you can't go to a bank and say, hey, I want to have, give me some time. I'd like some time back from you, please. It doesn't work that way, right? So it's really very, very important to just, things happen, just basically deal with it. Like, take it in your stride. So it's not what happens to you that determines who you are, it's how you respond. Absolutely important to always remember that. Totally important to remember that. And something else I want to ask you as well is, so also for the parents, so parents that are looking on, maybe in their house, they've got a very creative young person that's got great ideas, likes to dream big, wants to go for it. What would your advice be to those parents?
Yeah, definitely start to push them in the direction that they want to go. I would always say to parents, look, your children's future is theirs, right? So we have to be, as parents, we have to guide the children to where they want to go, but we don't have to push them, okay? Because you see, one of the things that made me very effective at what I was doing when I started my first business at 17, right? I'll tell you a little bit of history. Now, I went to university between the ages of, I think, about 18 and 20, right? And when I was 20, I was in my second year of university and I was running the business on the side. And then I decided not to go back for the third year, okay? And I quit. I quit. I didn't enjoy it. And I always say to my mum and to my family, like, university was my backup plan. Okay. And I quit, and I spoke to my mum about it, and she was like, yeah, but why? Like, why are you quitting university to go and run the business, and what happens if it fails, and so on and so forth? And the great thing that my mum did was she told me all the pros, she told me all the cons, she told me how she personally felt about it, and she said, the decision is yours, son. You know, and then I got on the phone to my grandma called me, and my grandma never used to call, right? It's always like you just go to grandma's house, right? Grandma didn't even know about phones. I didn't even know she had a phone, okay? She called me and said, grandson, what's this I'm hearing about you leaving university? And I was like, Gran, listen, like, I've got this business, it's doing great, I've got so many contracts in place, and it's going to generate, and it's going to... She said, no, I love you, no, not cat. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was a real heavy conversation. But again, the great thing that my grandma did is that whilst initially she was like, she felt it was a big challenge, by the end of the sort of 20, 30-minute conversation, she understood. And she was like, well, whatever you're being called to do and whatever is pushing you, like, give it 100%. So what I say that to say this, what I would say to parents is that guide them to where they want to go, give them the advantages, give them the weaknesses, but don't necessarily tell them that this is what you have to do, because whatever they're being called to do, whatever is operating on their consciousness that they want to do and they want to take forward, right? Provide the tools that's going to help them get there, but don't necessarily say this is what you have to do and this is how you have to do it, because their creation is going to be part of their responsibility. And actually, if they try to live through us, if they try to live through what we want for them as parents, then they're going to suffer later down the line and they're going to face resentment for it.
That is perfect. It's a really perfect advice. So for parents that are out there, you might have your idea of what you think they should do, or maybe even you've had your experiences of things that didn't quite work for you in the past, or things that you tried that have been successful. Like, it's really important to not impose that on these young talents. And it's really important for you to, from what I hear, from what Jazz is saying, just nurture it. Give them advice, give them the pros and cons, talk them through it. Essentially, talk to them as a leader, as an adult. That's what I'm hearing, Jazz.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? They develop so much leadership skills from that, because one of the things that we miss often in schools, and one of the things that made our business really successful, was that instead of just going into schools and teaching children PE or teaching them music or teaching them art or drama, we actually used to engender a lot of critical thinking. And this is what parents need to do also, is to engender a modality of critical thinking in the young people's minds. Because look, our job as parents, educators, is to generate and empower children and young people to be able to think for themselves. We're not going to be around forever. Okay, so if we're always telling them what to do, then they miss out on opportunities to think and create for themselves. So we've really got to, that's why I say give them the pros and the cons and then let them decide. Because whatever they decide, sometimes they're going to make the right decision, sometimes they're going to make the wrong decision. And sometimes the wrong decisions that they make are going to be the most important and impactful things that help them to propel them to get to where they want to go.
Perfect. Perfect. And also just someone's asked a question here. I'll definitely get to that question. But just also ask you, so someone says, look, I love what Jazz is talking about. I'm interested. I want to find out more. How do they do that? What are you doing that people can get involved with? what do you have coming up that would benefit the people that are listening or that watch this later on?
Yeah, two things. So the first thing is the money tracker, right? So it's a simple Excel-based tool, which is really engaging and insightful, which helps you to spend, save, and invest more powerfully than ever before. So essentially what you do is you track your income and you track your expenses, and then it gives you the graph and the visual data as to where you're overspending based on your money plan and where you're underspending based on your money plan. And then it shows you the report so that you start to consciously gauge what percentage of your expenses is going where and why. And then those sorts of senses start to then generate an understanding in your mind about what you actually want to create for yourself financially and where it is that you're going. So then you start to put your money into places where your actual values are and where your goals and visions are, as opposed to what they were in the past, which are generally unconscious habits. So people can check that out, and it's a 25. It's just under £30. It's $29.95, and that's on www.themoneytracker.co.uk. And the second thing, sorry, go on, Ade.
No, go on, keep going.
And the second layer to it, the second thing that I do is I run a program called Money Mastery, which is essentially teaching adults how to master and transform their relationship with money. And this is really powerful because how we operate with money psychologically, a lot of it is unconscious habits, and we have to tap into those unconscious habits. And it's so advantageous that we're talking to those parents and young people right now, because they can come on, and once the parent starts to really understand their money mentality and how they manage money effectively, these are the skills that we can pass on so that we can build wealth for the next generation and the next generation beyond that. Because a lot of people, a lot of times we make a certain income and we then get to a certain age and we wish we did certain things with it, right? So the Money Mastery program is all about teaching people and understanding and giving them all of the different options about how to utilize money in the most powerful way that is advantageous for us, it's advantageous for our children, and it's advantageous for our children's children.
You still see me? Or have I gone again?
Yeah,
I'm back. Yeah, hey, I'm back. Hey, technology. Love it. So here's a question from Michibu. How do we support our young people to think about the future and planning rather than getting caught up in just the here and now?
Yeah, I think both are really important, right? Like sometimes we can get so caught up, and I suppose this is the thing that young people can push back against, right? Is that sometimes we can get so caught up in the future that actually we're not enjoying the present, right? And it's really important to do both. So what I would say is to allocate a portion of your spending, a percentage of your spending on what we would call, to quote your phrase, the here and now, and then allocate a portion of your spending to the future. So what I always say to people, as a starting basis, wherever you're at, as a starting basis, you should always be putting a minimum of 10% towards your future. Okay, so now the 90% is play money. And as I said before, if you set up different accounts, if you have for example, if you call it a future account and a present account, and every time you get in £1,000, you put in £800 into your present account and £200, say, into your future account, now you know that you got £800 to play with. So the question is, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to enjoy it to its maximum value? And then you start to appreciate the £800 more, because you know that it's here for now. It's to be used for adding value to my life now and for my enjoyment. And oftentimes what happens is, over time, you start to realize, actually, I don't actually need that £800. I only need 500 to enjoy. So then it becomes a little game of, all right, let me put that extra 200, 300 pounds into my future account, because here's what happens, right? It's when you put that money into your future account, and I'm not talking about a savings account, I'm talking about investments accounts, because this is where you start to benefit from compound interest, where your money starts to make more money. Okay, so you put in £100 and it starts to grow at a rate of 10%, then that £100 becomes 110, and then it starts to accumulate and grow more money over time, so that £100 in 5 years' time is significantly more than the initial £100 that you put in.
Brilliant. Mitchie, I hope that answers your question. And you kind of touched on this other question as well from Luipa, which is what things have you done or do you do to help you stay disciplined when it comes to saving and investing? You kind of touched on it. Is there anything more you want to say about that?
Saving and investing, the most important thing is to know where your money's going and why. And one of the reasons that I created the money tracker in the first place, Ade, is because I felt like I had enough money, but I never felt like I felt like I made enough money, but I never felt like I had enough. Which is like, okay, so where's all the money going? And most of us have money like rice in a sieve, right? So we're shaking the sieve up and down, and the rice is just coming out. And then at the end, we don't feel like we have enough, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really important to track your income and track your expenses, know where all your money's going, and then that will help you to stay focused and stay disciplined. And then also, if you download an app, right, called, most of them are similar, called Compound Interest, right? And just start tapping in different figures, right? So let's say you want to save £100 a month, or you want to save £300 a month, and you're going to put it into this compound interest calculator. Say to yourself, put in 300 and put in, it's going to grow at 10% and it's going to grow over 30 years. And you see what that number generates for you. And then that starts to excite you about your future. Because it's not just going to be a small amount, like £3,000. You're looking at like hundreds of thousands due to what I explained before, which is compound interest, which is your money generating more money for you as time goes on.
That's brilliant. That's really good, useful advice. And keep the questions coming. So let me treat this other one. I might touch on parts of this as well. So it's from Joe Var. Thank you for asking the question, Joe. And also, Joe, thank you for your vulnerability in asking this question. So here's the question, Jazz. See if you can contribute anything towards this. So it's hi. Any advice on parents on a parent who is divorced, 50 years with 2 kids, a 17-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old boy, trying to help and advise them to study. They're not responding well, and I plan to start a new business, but no money. Okay. So there's a few different things there, but what would be your advice, your counsel?
Yeah, I think let's take it step by step, right? So the first thing that stands out to me, okay, so 50-year-old divorced with 2 children, right? The first thing is to really get the children clear and comfortable with the situation that's occurred, okay? So me and your dad are divorced, and explain to them why, like give them a clear and rounded understanding. What causes children and young people the most fear, upset, and disappointment, and sort of tension, should we say, often is the lack of understanding, right? And the opposite of doubt is understanding. So oftentimes as parents, we think to ourselves, well, they don't need to know their kids, right? And whilst they might not need to know everything in terms of the intricate detail, what they do need to know is that their parents are at a good place and that they're working this out in order to create this new situation that we're creating. So focus the communication on what it is that, first get clear on what's happened, and then focus the conversation on creating what it is that we're working towards going forward, right, as a family, okay? And then it says, give them advice on to study. And I think naturally, as you create clarity in that conversation with your children, they're gonna start to want to study, because I presume that the future that you're creating with your children and your family is to do with something that is advantageous to the family and is to do with, has studying somewhere in there, right? So studying is going to help us to get to where we want to get to, both as individuals, to the 14-year-old and the 17-year-old, and as a family unit, okay? So once we've created that clarity, it's naturally going to start to generate more independence for the children, because they've now got clarity on where they are, they've got clarity on where they're going to go, okay? And one of the things that helps with clarity is really getting the children to really starting to A, yourself, and B, getting the children to write down their goals every day. Now, this sounds like some like weird mystical thing, right? But let me tell you, like I've achieved so many of the goals that I set in my life. And if people ask me, how do you achieve so many goals that you set in your life? It's because I write them down every day. right? And by writing it down, it starts to seep into the subconscious mind that then starts to generate new actions based upon what happens to you and what it is that you're creating. So if I write down every day that I am going to be great with money, or I am going to read a book, or I am super intelligent, right? If I write down every day, I am super intelligent. Now it gets to about 3 o'clock when I think, oh, I remember that I'm super intelligent. Let me read a book. And or it takes my action because it's subconscious now, and I'm subconsciously seeping my mind with something positive. So definitely like get clear and then start to write down what your goals are every day. Even if it's just 2 or 3 goals, start small and then start to escalate, because you will start to see over time that things start happening and you start creating the goals that you've written down. And what you write down then becomes fruitful in terms of actual reality. And then the final thing that she mentioned is that planning to start a business but no money. Now, this is where I get really excited, because business, you don't need you don't need necessarily money to start a business. What you need is resources, right? And when you have resources, your biggest resource, as we discussed earlier, Ade, is your time. So like when I started a business, unless you're starting something in tech or something that really does involve a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
I would say utilize your time to start to generate an income, and use your time as an advantage to go and to practice and to master the skills that it is that you want to master. And the good thing for you, I think it's Joe that said it, the good thing here is that you have sufficient time, because by the sounds of it, you don't have, for example, really young children. Your children are old enough to be relatively independent now, so that you have the time to go out and really start pushing this business that you want to push in order to generate the income, generate the results that you want to generate.
Perfect. Joe, I hope that was really helpful for you. But the first thing that Jazz did there, which is really very powerful for what you're dealing with, is to untangle everything, as in just to bring separation from the divorce, the children not responding well to studying, to you start a new business with no money. Treat them all separately, because it then allows you, so once it's uncollapsed, it allows you to deal with what's there to be dealt with.
Yeah.
So you're not dealing with 4 or 5 things all at once. You're dealing with one thing at a time to get it complete. What was that, Jazz?
Absolutely. And yeah, just adding on to exactly what you said, which is to focus on one thing at a time.
Perfect. And the thing about focus, somebody said this one to me and I made a note of it, is focus is follow one course until successful. So follow F10 course C until you successful. So uncollapse them, pick out one thing and just focus on it until you've delivered on it, until you've achieved success in that area. That will give you, it will take a weight off your shoulder. It'll give you clarity of thought. There'll be less pressure on your mind, which is good for your mental well-being. And when you produce the result in one area, it just inspires you in the other areas. So that'd be one thing to talk about really, really quickly. Awesome. Perfect. So Jazz, it's been really great having you on. Thank you very much. What do you want to, oh yeah, one last thing I definitely got to ask you this question is, I saw one of your videos and you were talking about SMART goals, and you got to the part about realistic, because I've got a thing about this as well. Because when I coach people, I say to them, what are your goals? And I say to them, don't be realistic. They're like, what? I'm like, yes, don't have your goals be realistic. And it really confuses them. They're like, but why not? I'm like, realism, and I explain it. I might talk about this a little bit in my session. But yeah, tell us a bit about that. So you say, do your SMART, but you change the realistic and you put something else in there.
Yeah, I changed, what was it? The traditional way is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timed. And we transmogrified it because to specific, measurable, aligned to your vision, R for ranked in terms of priority, and then T for timed. And the first thing that we changed was attainable, right? Because who's to say what's attainable? Tony Robbins does his conferences, and then someone says, something. Well, I can't achieve that, and he says, well, when did you start to accept that constraint in your life? When did you accept that? When did you accept that as a weakness in your life? Okay, so often things happen that start to create and resonate a certain weakness that we feel is a weakness, but it's not actually a weakness. Okay, so it's not about things being attainable, because whatever is humanly possible by you. And talking about writing things down, just to jump back a bit, I used to write that down all the time, right? Whatever is possible by a human being is possible for me. Okay, so then you start to remove negative associations in your life, and then the R is for ranked. Okay, so again, going back to what we said before, it's to treat each thing, focus on one course until successful. So if you rank it, what's the priority? Is the priority getting clarity on this divorce issue? Is the priority getting these children to study? Is the priority getting this business to start? Because if you try and merge all three together, you end up in a mess, right? And it ends up becoming really frustrating and really difficult. Now, if you start to rank it and say, well, this is my priority right now. This is what's important to me. This is what I'm creating. I'm creating step one. Nothing else comes in the way. Yeah, okay, it's life, and it might take up 10% of your time, but 90 to 95% of your time and focus is going on priority number one. And as you say, Ade, until successful. And the A is about really getting in alignment with your vision, because oftentimes we set goals and we say, you know, I want this or I want to achieve that, but actually really we don't want to achieve it. So like, for example, like when I was 17, 18, 19, I wanted to be a professional footballer. But actually, if I dig deeper and get it in alignment with my true life vision, that was never it for me. Because as I say, I don't want to be traveling. I don't want to be living in, you know, I don't want to be living in Bolton or living in Ipswich or living. But these are the kinds of clubs and kind of like, you know, teams I would have had to play for. Even if I started local at, say, QPR, at some point in my career, I would no longer be living where I want to live. So that's not aligned to my vision and values. So we've got to get our goals in alignment with our vision and values, because then we're able to operate on a smoother path and with much less friction.
Perfect. And just a final question from Gizmo Y. I'll go to the second part of it. So, will you deliver workshops for parents to help our young people now and into their future?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I've been thinking about during the Money Mastery program. So definitely, like, I'd love it if you can reach out to me on Instagram. And my Instagram is at Mr. Jazz Rose, JAZZROSE. And we can have a further chat about that, because that's something that I'll look to do more of in the future.
Perfect. And just so you know, we're going to have Jazz's details on the 1000 Black Boys website. So everything that you need for him will be on there. You can just reach out to him through that. So that'll be available for you to make use of. Because a key part of why we exist is not just that we inspire you today and tomorrow, but when it comes to the 1st of December and something happens, there's somebody you can reach out to. There's a program that can support your development and your growth. And our time definitely is up. But I've got to ask this. I can see behind you. Is that a quote on your wall?
Yeah, it says, "The kitchen is the heart of our home." This is actually my old house. Actually, I actually broke into my old house and robbed a bit of desk space because I was local.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Because the reason why I asked that, because behind me is also quotes. And it's something I want to talk about at some point later on. But yeah, Jazz, thanks for being on. Really great to have you on board. I'm sure we're going to be speaking to you again in future. And it'd be great to find out how the Money Mastery program and the workshop all go. So yeah, so thank you very much and all the best.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Ade, for having me on. Appreciate it.
Awesome. See you later.
All right, peace out. Bye-bye.
So thank you for all those questions, and thank you for all of you that were on. And I know you found that very, very useful. And what I just thought was also very, very interesting from what Jazz was talking about is literally this thing about dealing with failure, dealing with the challenges in life, and literally how he was able to respond to that. And he gave some really very, very, someone said gold advice indeed. Oh, because that's supposed to be good. I think it's good. But yeah, it gave some good, and I even say some golden advice there for young people and parents to also benefit from. And really interestingly, a lot of the things that he said, some of the things that Jazz touched on, are going to be in my session. So I'm going to my screen right now and just doing this session about perception and the importance of perception. It was really very, very key in the things that Jazz spoke about. And I've got a little bit less time for this section because I just thought what Jazz was really discussing was really very, very powerful. So I'm going to go through this. If we don't cover all of it before the next section, I'm going to literally come back and summarize some of the key things for you all. So some parts of this I'm going to skip through because for those of you who've been on previous sessions, you know who I am. So just so you know, so as well as what I do with 1000 Black Boys, I'm also the CEO and founder of a company called Get Hench. And people here Get Hench and all they think about is about the size of the biceps and they think about six packs and going to the gym. We're literally about Get Hench. We're talking about this. We're talking about the most important muscle in your body. Because when this works really, really well, everything about you also works really, really well. So really work with people to have their mind and their mental state to be in a powerful place where they produce results. And I'm also involved with a third business, which is not on this, but literally we work with Christian businesses to produce results. So I do 1000 Black Boys, I do Get Hench, and I also do a company, work with a company called Rock Solid Business Mastermind. And what we do with Get Hench is work with entrepreneurs, business professionals, work with 10 to 25-year-olds. For us, that's really key. So we give the skills that business people have that are 40, 50, 60. We give those skills and those ideas to young people that are 11, 12, 13, 14. Simple. We want to start them really, really early. And then we also work with parents. So because parents provide the culture in which children grow up in. So we work with parents as well so that the culture that children go back into is one that supports their growth. It's really very, very powerful. And what you also need to know is that I'm one of the leading mindset and leadership coaches in Europe. I trained with a global self-development company, and I was the most effective leader out of about 400 in Europe. So I did very, very well because of my passion for people and because I love it when people grow. And I then led a program. At that point, I was one of 4 people in Europe and one of 200 globally, which led the self-expression and leadership program. Entered the world of business age 19. And in my last company, I took the team from £400,000 to £2.1 million in 2.5 years. So I love working with teams. I love it when people produce results. And so just Yoruba, Nigerian, you know, I'm from a household where I'm the only boy out of 5 children, and my parents literally gave me 11 names, and there are all my names right there for you on the board. So yep, those are all my names. They're not all on my passport because they couldn't fit. And I'm married to my wife, Pamela, who's been in the background helping to put things together. So when my laptop crashed, she helped us out. So for this session, really quickly, and our approach is, when we work with, for those young people that are listening to this, I'm not going to speak to you as children. I'm speaking to you as leaders because that's who you are. With incredible talents do you have, incredible ideas do you have. Those are leadership qualities, and you've got abilities to be incredible leaders. So I'm going to talk to you from that viewpoint. And similarly for parents, so there'll be things in these sessions that will benefit you. So please make notes of them and ultimately make use of them. And what I always say to parents is, which is why I got Jazz to emphasize some things, is always remember that these young people in your house are leaders. They're leaders. They've got incredible gifts, incredible talents. These people that live with you, that you've raised up, are going to be leading businesses, industries, different parts of culture. If you look at them from that viewpoint, it'll make a big difference to them, you, and the results that they produce. So for those of you that are on the line, maybe even if you're not live, you can still try and answer this question. I'm going to do a session about the power of perception. So my question to everybody out there is, what is perception? I'll give you a few seconds to answer, but there's no wrong answers at this stage. But what is perception? What is it? So there's a slight delay, so that's why I'm waiting. So for those of you that are online, for those of you that are on YouTube, those of you that are on Facebook or Twitter, please fire away. What is perception? And don't be shy. Don't be shy. I'm just waiting for one person at least to answer. Yeah, so my question, what is perception? Come on, don't be shy. Let's have a look. Jay, if you're still on, Louipa, Joe, Gizmo, go for it. And anybody else that I haven't mentioned. I'll give it like another 10 seconds. If there's no response, then I'll go and answer the questions. But really key, this is a really powerful thing, that it shapes you, it impacts you every second of every minute of every hour of every day for the rest of your life. Perception is very, very powerful. Thank you, Louipa. Your viewpoint, great. So things like how you see the world. So it's the world view. How you see yourself in the world, your perception. How you see those around you, perception. How you see what you are capable of. Joe also said is what you think about yourself, life, job, etc. Exactly. Thank you very much. Gizmo, presumptions, prejudices, mainly based on personal experiences and personal values. You've all got it. So that is perception. And it's a really key thing that I want to go into right now, is that two people can look at the same thing and have two different viewpoints. Like this that you can see on my screen. So somebody looks at it and they see a 6. Someone else looks at it and they see a 9. They've got different viewpoints. Different viewpoints. And what happens is, for some people, this turns into a big argument. They're like, no, it's a 6. No, it's a 9. It's 6. It's 9. Are you blind? And literally, it's kind of like totally kicks off. Perception. Very key. So here's another one for you to have a look at. So Gizmo just said huge delay, responded right away. So I tried to give a bit more time for this one. So on my screen, what do you see? Do you see an old woman or a young woman? So this is a really famous image about perception. But from those of you that are looking at this right now, what do you see on your screen? Do you see an old woman or do you see a young woman? What do you perceive? What do you perceive? And I'm just waiting and just holding on for people to respond and give you time, because there is a slight delay from your responses and what I see. Perception. So you responded right away, and I'm seeing there's a delay. No one's responding. Perception. So yeah, so what do you see? An old woman or a young woman? So have a look. Like, what's that on her head? Is that her head? I can see her nose. No, that's not her nose. Maybe that's her chin. What's that? Is that her mouth? So yeah, so feel free to type away. Are you seeing an old woman or are you seeing a young woman here? And if you don't see it at all, you can also say that. And don't be shy. Okay, Gizmo, both. Thank you very much. Joe, the side profile of young lady, side view, and hat. Brilliant. For those of you that look at this later on, don't just fast forward it. Play along with it. You'll discover something really powerful. So when we clarify it and we expand it out, so here you can have a look at it. So one part, as I'm looking to my left, is an old woman, as you can see there. And in the profile, you can see the young woman. Or maybe initially you see a young woman first, and then gradually be able to see the old woman. Or initially you see the old woman first, and then you see the young woman afterwards. It's all about perception. When I first did this, all I saw was the old woman. And I was like, what do you mean there's a young woman there? What are you talking about? There is no young woman there. And this is what really happens in life. People see things differently, and it turns into a big argument, or it turns into a big falling out, rather than just seeing that this person might have a different point of view to me, might have a different perception to mine. And it's having that understanding that's so powerful. And thank you for that, Gizmo. So there's like a 2-minute delay. So what shapes your perception? What are the things that shapes your perception? I want to go through this. Past experiences shapes your perception. Somebody talked about this, mentioned this earlier in the chat. So your past experiences, has a huge impact on your perception. People around you, people that you've grown up with, people that you hang about with right now, people that you associate with, your friends, your family, they shape your perception. Important thing. So one of the things that Jazz also spoke about. So your future expectations is what I call it. Hope, your dreams, your goals, it shapes your perception. It 100% shapes your perception. In the same way where some people, they celebrate Fridays and they dread Mondays. So for most people, Saturday starts around about this time, like say 4:45, they're into the weekend. So basically when it comes to Friday, they're looking forward to the weekend. So that shapes their perception. And for other people, when it comes to Sunday, around about 3-4 p.m., maybe 5 p.m. for some people, they are already into Monday, and they're dreading Monday because of how they perceive Monday. So they're not enjoying that Sunday, which is the weekend, because Monday is ahead of them. So your future expectation, your goals, literally has a big impact on your perception. Another thing is your environment. Environment both in terms of your physical location where you live, and it could also be in the society that's around you. It has an impact on your perception. Last thing is the information you expose yourself to, or information that you get. So this has a huge impact on your perception. Very, very key. And some really key things there. So this is the equation for perception. So perception is equals to past experiences plus people plus future expectation plus environment plus information exposed to. Those 5 things absolutely shape your perception. They shape how you see the world, they shape how you see yourself in the world, and they shape the actions that you take ultimately. I'll talk more about that really briefly. So this is a famous quote by Henry Ford. Henry Ford revolutionized the automobile, so cars, had a huge impact on cars. His famous quote is, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you got it. You're right. Yeah, your perception determines the results you produce. So what are some of the perceptions of black boys and young black men? For those of you that are there, you can answer these questions. I'm going to move ahead because of the delay that we have here. So some of the perceptions that people have is they don't read books. They don't do well in school. Aggressive. Angry. They're in gangs. Can't be successful in business. So these are some of the perceptions that's out there. Some of the things that people might say in passing. some of the things that you will see on the news or you come across when you watch a film. All of these things is just to let you know that all of this stuff, it's all nonsense. It's all lies. It's someone's perception and it's not the truth. It's all lies. But what happens for some young people and some young people that are out there listening to this is you believe that. You believe that all the things that you saw on my previous screen, which is about, oh, you can't read, you can't do well in business, you know, you get angry, all of this stuff, you actually believe that stuff. You believe it, or you watch things that expose you to that kind of information. What I'm saying as part of this session, and what you've seen from what Jazz has just spoken about, what I'm speaking about, what everybody that'll speak today and tomorrow is speaking about, is that it's all nonsense. It's all lies. It's not the truth. It's not the truth. And because it's not the truth, don't let it define you. Don't let it define who you are. So what someone thinks about you is not as important as what you think about yourself. That goes for the young people. It goes for the parents. It goes for people that are older than the parents. It goes for all of us. For the young people that are out there, what someone thinks about you is not as important as what you think about yourself. So what you think about yourself, how you view yourself, is the most important thing. So how you perceive you is not as important, or how someone perceives you is not as important as you perceive yourself. It's really key to remember that, because that perception of yourself determines the actions that you take. And I'll prove it to you. If you look outside and you see the outside, it looks cloudy, the floor looks wet, and you're about to leave your house, you're going to dress a certain way. So because you're not yet outside, you're still indoors, but you perceive that outside is cold and that it's raining. You get dressed based on it's cold and it's raining. So that perception of the outside shapes what you do. It shapes your action. But then you get outside and it's actually warm and hot. So you got to take off your jacket, take off your hoodie, take off your hat, because it's actually hot. So what you perceived actually wasn't reality. Another example, similar along the same lines. So you look outside and it looks sunny. The sun's out, it looks clear, and then you walk outside. You've dressed like it's summer, and outside it's freezing. So how you perceived outside when you were indoors isn't what outside actually is. So what I'm saying is how you perceive things, yourself included, determines the actions that you take. 100%. And whoever or whatever controls your perception controls your actions. So whoever or whatever controls your perception controls your actions. If it's something that you watch continuously and constantly, I promise you that information that you're receiving, that you expose yourself to, it shapes your action. It absolutely shapes your action. I mean, think about it. At the start of the coronavirus lockdown in March, before the lockdown, there was the talk of this virus. What did most people do in Tesco and Asda and Sainsbury's? What did they do? They panicked. So that information that they got, that they received from the media, it shaped their perception, and therefore it shaped their actions. It then made them go to Tesco and Sainsbury's, and they bought all the loo rolls, and the loo rolls ran out. They bought all the toilet rolls, they bought all the pasta, because it was going to be a disaster, right? So that information from the media shaped the actions that they took because of their perception. So it's really key, the kind of information that you expose yourself to. Massively important. Huge. And also the thing about perception. And this is the reason why I wanted Jazz to talk about it and what he said. So Jazz hasn't seen my presentation, but he then spoke about this thing about being realistic and about perception. One of the things I say to people is, people ask me, or I tell them about what we want to do with 1,000 Black Boys. We want to impact so many young black boys, young black men, and we see that as a way to impact society and to transform the world. We want to start up a business which is called Get Hench and deals with mindset and deals with coaching and impacts thousands and millions and billions of lives. People say to me, Ademola, be more realistic. Be realistic. And I say, no, thank you. No, I'm not going to be realistic because it's what I see. It's my opportunity to go for it. And it's really key because being realistic is always based on the past. So realism, or people perceive as realism, is always based on a past experience. It's never anything new. It's never from the future. So for those of you that are out there, for the young people that have got these incredible, brilliant ideas, there's all these things that you want to create and that you want to set up and that you want to be a part of, go for those dreams, go for those visions, because realism or being realistic impacts those visions. It's okay to dream. It's your go at life. It's okay to dream. There's a quote from Will Smith. He said that realism is the road to mediocrity. So realism is the road to mediocrity. From my example, when we set up Get Hench, so we launched it fully December last year, and it got to March, the whole industry has been completely impacted, right? Being realistic would have meant that, hey, do you know what? I pack up shop and then I go back and do like a 9 to 5. And I said, no way, we're going forward. We're going to go forward and we're going to make it happen and we're going to make it work. So hence the reason why I'm here today, and it's allowed me to also create these webinars and sessions with 1,000 Black Boys, because I wasn't realistic. So I'm asking you to not be realistic. And there's another quote for you. If you can remember this one, it says, don't look back. You're not going that way. So when you look to the future, it allows you to dream. So I'm saying dream. Go for what you want. Go for it. So for those of you that are, if you've got any questions, please fire in any questions that you've got, or just let me know what you're getting from this session that I'm doing right now. But just some really important tips for you to have and for you to make use of. I'm going to give you 5 tips. There's lots of things that I could give you, but I'll give you 5 tips. You can try this first one for at least 7 days. Try it for 7 days. Stop watching the news. You can dip in or you can dip out. But number 1, stop watching the news. Get to a stage in your life where you don't watch the news. I don't watch the news. I might dip in or dip out. If I think something interests me, I'll turn on my television and I'll watch it or I'll read it. But I don't sit there and let it wash over me. I don't sit there and let it condition my thinking. Because remember, like I said in one of the earlier slides, what shapes your perception is the information exposed to. The information that you consume and receive, it shapes your perception. And that information then shapes your action. So information received shapes your action. So essentially the news shapes your action. So what I'm saying is, try for 7 days. Don't watch it. Dip in, dip out. Next one. It's kind of skip ahead to 2 more. So second thing is, record things that inspire you. It could be a quote that inspires you. It could be something that you've heard that inspires you. Record it on a voice note for yourself in your voice and play it to yourself. Play it in the loop to yourself. So when you have a moment of doubt, you want to start a business and there's no money, like the lady said earlier. So you need things that reinforce the future that you want. So record something onto a voice note that inspires you and play it to yourself. Ideally, try and loop it so it plays continuously. Maybe you've got like 20 minutes in your day, just listen to it, or play it in the background in your house as you're cooking, as you're tidying the house, or as you're working, because your unconscious mind is paying attention. Your unconscious mind is receiving that information. So that's my second tip. My third tip for you is put quotes around you. It could be on your wall, it could be on your phone, it could be in your wallet, in your notebook, in your school bag, in your pencil case. Put things in those places that really inspire you. So things that have you look at the world in a different way. So by doing this, you are shaping your own perception and you're shaping your own actions. You're empowering yourself. So that's my third tip for you. Fourth and fifth tip is, number 4 is go for a walk out there in nature. It's really important that you do this. So maybe you leave your tech at home, or you put your phone on silent, you put it in your pocket, you don't use it, and you're literally immersed in nature. Because when you're doing that, you're utilizing all of your senses. And if you really get present to what you can see, what you can smell, what you can hear, what you can taste, what you can touch, if you're really present to that, it has you wake up. It has you be more present. It has you get and discover who you really are. And that separation from technology for that time has a huge impact on your clarity of thought, on your mind, and on the results that you produce. And also, last thing is, on our website, you can download this free content. We call it the chimp. It's a part of the brain that always talks to us. And it's the part of the brain where the self-sabotage mechanism lives, where the imposter syndrome lives, where cycles and patterns come from. So this material through our site allows you to be able to catch that thing so it doesn't ruin your goals and ruin your life. So that's there. So literally, if you go to gethench.co.uk/chimp, you can download that for free. And also, what I want to say, so I'm about to bring on our next speaker very, very shortly. So between our last event in August and now, we've just done something. So we went out because we want to make a difference to Black boys and young Black men. We want to do that 100%. So we went out, approached different organizations, and one of them gave us funding at GetHench to deliver a program for Black boys and young Black men. And it's a program for young entrepreneurs. It's an entrepreneurship program. We're going to start it in November. It's over 6 weeks and 6 sessions. So we're making that available. And the thing as well is, because of the funding that we've got, it's basically allowed us to heavily reduce the price for this session. Let me go to this next page. So normally for this program, so the program's going to be for 13 to 17-year-olds. If somebody's slightly close to that age, we'll also make it available to them as well. We've got a space for 10 young Black boys and young Black men to be on that program. So it's a spot for 10 young Black boys, young Black men, aged 13 to 17. Or if somebody's 18 or 19 and they're really keen, we think they're a good fit, we can make it available for them. Or if somebody's 11 or 12 and they're really like, yeah, like that's me, we would also make that available to them as well. So for those that are entrepreneurial, they've got great ideas, but maybe they're stuck, they're not too sure how to take it forward, the program is for them. And what we've done is, the program is normally $397. Because of the funding that we got, we've been able to take off £300 from the program. So essentially, 75% of that program is already paid for 10 young Black boys and young Black men. And if that's you, if that interests you, get in touch with me. So that's my email address, ademola@gethench.co.uk. And let's see if you're a good fit for the program. We do want people on board that have ideas or have already started a business, or they want to be doing something entrepreneurial. They want to be starting up their own businesses, or they want to set up something that's literally out there. The program is definitely for them, and it's designed to give them the mindset and the thinking that they can deliver on those dreams and those goals. So that is what this program is about, and I'm really happy to announce it officially today. So this is available for you all. And if you know somebody who would be a good fit for that, that's not listening to this right now, please let them know about this. And if you want to stay in touch with us at GetHench, go to our site. We're on social media. Get hold of us on Insta, Twitter, and also on our Facebook. That's my email for the parents. I'm also on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, get in touch with us. It'd be great to share with you what we're doing, because we're here to make a difference. and it'd be great to support your children and you as you're going on this journey called life. So I'm about to welcome on our next speaker. So let me just pause this part. That's my smiley happy face. There we go. So I'm about to bring on our next speaker. And this guy, I spoke with him very recently. I thought, wow, I love his story. It was actually recommended to me by someone that I know. And he said, yeah, have a chat with this guy. There's things that he can share. And just bringing this together for you, it's very much about 2020 is not cancelled. For those of you that are listening to this, if this is resonating, please put in the chat, 2020 is not cancelled. If it's resonating, if you're getting the message, just put into the chat, 2020 is not cancelled. Encourage yourself with this. So the person I'm going to bring on is Nana. Nana's company, Unique Abilities, is a company that he set up, and he's somebody who's dealt with disabilities in the past, and showing from a perspective of a black boy and a young black man who's dealt with disabilities and how he's been able to rise above it and has been able to deal with it, and he's now in a place today where he's doing incredible things. We think that is somebody who's a great example of how 2020 is not cancelled, right? I know there's a 2-minute delay, but type it in. So I'm going to bring Nana into our studio very, very shortly. Here he is. Nana, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Brilliant. I mean, thank you very much for being on a Friday, 5 o'clock. So I know we've spoken.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely loved your story. And I just thought, you know, people need to hear about this guy. People need to hear about the things that you've been through, what you've dealt with, and how you're here today, just as a source of inspiration to the black boys, young black men that are on, and also to their parents as well, and also to those who support them. But just tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, and your story.
So, my name is Nana, and basically, I am a disability advocate, and I'm a disability contributor writer for the Independent newspaper. My story all began when I was born. I was basically born with a small airway at birth, which had a huge impact on me existing. So I was born with a small airway at birth. And what happened was, there I am as a child or as a baby. You can imagine people who have children, they're born, and within a day or two, you're taking your child home. That didn't happen for me in the 80s. I was born with a breathing complication. I was born with a narrow airway at birth. And as you can see, I had lots of tubes, wires coming out of me. Born to a Ghanaian family who had come from Ghana to the UK to have a better life. What they didn't expect was to give birth to me with a lot of complications. I lived in an incubator for 2 years, and it was traumatic for my mother because she didn't know what to do. My father, being of Ghanaian heritage and from a family that was very dominant and alpha kind of background, couldn't accept the fact that I had so much complications wrong with me at such a young age. I had 3 near-death experiences. So I was in ICU within that 2-year period, living in an incubator. And a lot of people wrote me off. Medical needs or medical, basically the medical stuff that I needed to enable that I could live, my parents were being tossed from pillar to post. Because you can imagine back in the 80s, medicine wasn't advanced, and your local authority and the NHS had more power than the parent. Everything was based around what they saw fit as instead of having a conversation with the parent. Moving on, a lot of people thought I wouldn't come out of the hospital. People thought I would die from, from my condition. And it was very worrying times for my parents. However, when you look at the slide that I've just shown, 9 months after I was born, my mother was able to touch me and feed me for the first time. After that nine months, I basically was allowed to have human touch, not just by my mother, but by my father and external family members who at the time were supporting my mother from the background. 2 years came, my mother was told I could go home. And you can see over the time that my mother started feeding me, I grew a little bit of a belly. So
just a little bit, yeah.
Well, you can see I can't come out the chair. Society had written me off, but I proved them wrong. And throughout my time of growing up, I actually had, numerous times of going into hospital. You can imagine if I've got a tracheostomy, which is a tube in my neck to enable me to breathe and speak, I needed speech therapy. So I had to go in and out of hospital within a period of 3 to 6 months to make sure my speech was frequent, my voice was projecting, and basically I didn't have any complications in terms of communication. Within that time, I grew a passion for music. I didn't quite make it to be a musician, but it shows you that I didn't allow my disability to stop me from trying out things that regular kids did. When it came to my education, that's where problems started to occur. Society didn't want me to progress. So the local authority that I lived in, basically told my mother, he's got a disability. The best thing we can suggest for your son is to go to a SEND school, which is a special educational needs school, because he's got a disability. Not even looking at the aspect that, okay, he's got a disability, but let's look at it from a case-by-case aspect instead of writing him off and putting him in a special needs school. There was a lot of fight from my mother because she didn't understand why I needed to go to a special needs school when my mental capacity was very able, very capable. Local authority at the time, they were not having it. They weren't listening to my mum because they thought, what does this black lady know? Who's she to tell us where we can and cannot spend our funding? We are the local authority and you will listen to us. So my mum gave in to them, not gave in to them as in, I don't know what's right for my son, but she thought, you know what? My son will teach you guys a lesson. I'm telling you he's not fit for that environment, but you're insisting that he goes to that environment. So they put me in a special needs school, and in under a week, the local authority rang my mother and said, we need to get him out. We can't keep him in there because he's not your typical child with a disability who can't function for themselves. And what they mean by that is, I was used to playing with kids. I was used to running around. I was used to being boisterous as a young African Black boy. Yeah. So they took me to a place where people were in wheelchairs. Some children, same age as me, suffered severe cerebral palsy. And there was no movement or no interaction. So guess what Nana did? Nana basically decided to pull some of the children from their wheelchairs and drag them on the floor. Because in my view, or in my childhood mind at the time, I was thinking, why are these kids not moving? Why are they not playing with me? Why is everyone quiet? you know, and that was my, you know, my cognitive or my mental development of, you know, being a normal child, you know. So I was out of the SEND school quicker than I could actually put my bottom on a chair to say, hello, I'm part of you guys. In saying that, the local authority I was with still decided to fight my mother in terms of putting me in a mainstream school. They were talking about funding, how severe was my disability, you know, who would take care of me in the time that I was in school. Would my mother be prepared to be in school with me? And my mother was like, look, I'm his parent. I can't afford to be in school with him. There's funding out there. We can employ someone, train them to know what his condition is about, how he changes his tube, if he needs suctioning, what type of aid he needs to use to remove excess body fluid. It took them 2.5 years to actually give me a mainstream school. So within that time, my mother thought to herself, right, you're not just going to sit here and not educate my son. My son needs education. And if that means you guys have to fund for a tutor to come home to keep my child on par with his peers, that's what's going to happen. Again, local authority being local authority in the early 90s. Who's this woman talking and telling us what to do? Why is she telling us we need to send someone to her home to teach an individual that we've basically written off? I was tutored for 2 years, and then in the 3rd year, my mother was told, right, we found a school who's willing to take your son on, and the teachers have agreed to be trained and to take the funding, and someone will follow your son around. So I got a fair bit of education, but then I thought the support would follow through.
Sure.
When I hit primary school, everything started again. The whole cycle started again. Funding, your son's disability is a bit complex. Who's going to take care of him? Who's going to carry his machine? Aren't you sure he can compete with his peers? So we went through another 1.5 years of me not being in school.
What age were you at that point?
I was eight at that time.
Okay. And how old are you now, Anna? I'm asking.
How old am I now? I'm 37.
Brilliant. And what are you doing now? So literally, so that was a challenging upbringing.
Yeah.
And so what are you doing today? Tell us about what you're doing now. Tell us about unique abilities.
So what I'm doing today, employment. In terms of my career, I had another battle to be accepted within the employment world. I started off in the corporate world as a civil servant for 10 years. Worked in various departments. I was an offshore intelligence officer. I was a personal advisor, advising people on their benefit rights. And I worked within the immigration service for some time. But I found that wasn't my calling. I connected more with helping people in community and within the disability community, disabled community. So I ended up getting a job within a local authority, assisting and helping people like myself and beyond with complex needs map out their journey within employment. Because as you can understand, disabled people in general find it difficult to start their journey in employment, because before that application even reaches that employer, soon as they see disability and streams of barriers, that employer is already pulling away. So my job was to break down the bias between employer and employee, possible employee, to understand that being disabled isn't an inability. Being disabled is just as normal as blowing your nose, you know, provided there's support, that individual is just as gifted and talented as an able-bodied person. Unique abilities stem from my personal experience of obstacles that I went through my personal career within the civil service. It stemmed from understanding that employers didn't quite get disabled people. Most of all, didn't understand me or what my disability meant, you know. So I decided to set up Unique Abilities to give people a voice. Unique Abilities is for everybody. Different shape, different sizes, different colors. Disability has no race. And that's what I'm trying to make people understand. So in the Black community, we don't talk about disability as much. We shy away from it. We don't really involve the individual that has a disability. It's all down to the parent. Sometimes some parents are ashamed. And from personal experience, I went through it. One parent was, giving me the confidence, be yourself, go out there, let people see you're indifferent, never back down. Whilst the other parent wanted me to hide who I was. So I was fighting between two different worlds. And when it came to society, I tended to hide myself a lot. I didn't expose myself and show people my indifference. I kind of lost my voice in society. It got to a point where I hit the age of 24. I started to lose my vision in my right eye. I had cataracts in my right eye. And I thought to myself, through all the tribulations I'd been through up until the age of 24, I thought enough is enough. It's time for people to hear the story of a disabled person whilst being Black. And the reason why I say whilst being Black is because waking up as a Black boy, I'm already facing a barrier of I'm a Black person. The microaggressions of discrimination against Black people as it is. And to be a Black child, not understanding the dynamics of what society looks at as you as a Black person was one thing. Understanding that as a Black person, I'm already a write-off because people feel I'm incompetent or not capable, And then to have a disability on top of that, I had two barriers to deal with. So at the age of 24, one day my manager kind of annoyed me. And I took up to Facebook Live. When Facebook Live was popping, I took up to it. And I started to talk about my story, how I was born, how I'd struggled, how the educational system had failed me, how even in employment, I'd been failed several times. And a manager that was meant to support me in my career hadn't done so. I got floods and streams of messages from families who said I'd given them confidence. I was doing a great thing by sharing my story because the Black community, again, we don't discuss disability. We shy away. And it kind of puts a kind of a dampener on that individual child who is growing up. They lose their voice. So if there's a young person watching me today who has a disability, who's Black, it's not over till it's over. Because I went through all of that in the 90s when there was no such thing as diversity and inclusion, when there was no such thing as Black Lives Matter, when there was no such thing as we are taking you on board for who you are. England then was a very different England, So if anyone's watching me today, you can make it, regardless of what your barrier is, regardless of where you come from or where you think you come from. And if your parents are hard on you, they're not hard on you because they're trying to be mean. What it is they're scared themselves. They don't know where to put their heads. They don't know where to seek advice from. They don't know how to just take care of you because you're different, you know? So if anyone's of a young nature is watching me, or a family is watching me, being disabled is not an inability. Being Black is not something to be ashamed of. Be proud that you're Black. Be proud of your indifference. And most importantly, as you can see, personally, I nearly lost my voice for good. I never even was going to exist. If I was born in Ghana, I probably would have died. But luckily for me, my parents had the ability to come here. I'm alive. I'm 37 years old, and I'm making a difference to others via writing articles, doing speeches, and just making people understand that never underestimate your indifference. Even if you don't necessarily know who you are, eventually you will get to know who you are. It's never too late to have your voice heard.
Brilliant, Nana. Thank you very much. Because I wanted to really ask you that. So this is literally for young people that are out there that listen to this. Maybe you're in special education needs. Maybe you're not even there yet. Let Nana be an example that you can make it. You can absolutely make it and make a difference. So Nana hasn't just made it and he's just there surviving. He's made it and now he's making a difference. So let that be encouragement to you. It's really important that you remember that. If you have those moments of doubt, when you're second guessing yourself or you're not sure or you feel down, remember this guy. You can always play this video again. And also importantly, Nana, so let's say somebody's heard this or parents have heard this and this really resonates, or the parents are dealing with, yeah, like we're stuck. We're afraid as well. We don't know what to do. How can people get in touch with you?
So I'm on Twitter at Mr_unique_voice. I'm on Facebook as Mr. Unique Voice. I've also got a podcast where it's strictly talking about disability and empowering people with disability, and that's Touch Base Podcast. Twitter is at Touch Base Socials, and I'm on LinkedIn as Nana Marful.
And what we're going to do as well is we're going to put all your details as well on our website, so people can actually get your details through there. And to ask, so with do you have any programs that you offer? Anything that you provide for young children, young Black boys, young Black men, young people that are dealing with disabilities and parents that are dealing with disabilities with their children? Do you have anything like that that you provide?
So if any family, because of the sensitivity of most of these situations, if a family is out there that needs to talk to me personally, they can reach out to me and we can have a conversation of where and what they need to do. Local authorities have a lot of funding surrounding special educational needs. Central government have funding. I know where to go to get them, but it depends on the circumstances of what the families are looking for. I do talks on a regular basis. I'll go into schools and do talks to students. So if anyone wants me to visit their school or just to talk to parents about disability, I can always be contacted on my social media platforms.
Awesome. And also you said that you mentioned the part about funding. So if there's parents out there, you're struggling with certain things, Nana can support you to at least answer those questions, or to ideally access that funding, or at least be in the running to apply for that funding.
Yes.
So that's somebody who's got that expertise that can support you on your journey. Just Nana, is there anything else you want to say as we're closing?
All I can say is, for youngsters, we're in a global pandemic. We're in a crisis that seems to be withering everyone down. However, don't let the circumstances of what's happening dim your lights. Don't allow negativity around you. And just to pick up on what you said about watching the news, I don't watch the news either. I watch a lot of YouTube stuff. I educate myself on my Black history. So I would advise youngsters, educate yourself about your Black history, understand who you are, and don't misunderstand and think I'm born in England, I'm British. No. You're a Black person. You come from a rural part of Africa, Caribbean, wherever you're from, that's where you're from. Understand who you are. Go out there and shine and represent and make a difference in community.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nana. And just a question from Gizmo Y. I said, do you mainly support visible disabilities?
Not just visible. A disability is a disability. So it could be mental, it could be, vision, it could be a physical thing as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much. And just in closing, so for those of you that are listening, those that are dealing with disabilities, and even those that are not dealing with disabilities, maybe you've just had like a really rough 2020. It's been really challenging. Maybe business has been hit. Maybe your career has been hit. Maybe you've been furloughed, made redundant, wherever it is. It's the power of grit. So Nana is a demonstration of grit, as in just powering through. Regardless of what happens, you keep moving forward. Regardless of circumstance, you keep going. So this guy in front of you is an example of that. So Nana, thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate you, and all the best with everything. And we'll definitely keep in touch because you're doing some incredible things, and we'd love to support you to reach even more people. So thank you very much for being on.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Bye.
Yeah. So thank you for listening to that. I think that was inspiring. So with all the things that happened in 2020, so the industry that I work in, working with people and coaching, we had our office all set up in WeWork in Liverpool Street, and then the coronavirus hit and everything was just locked down. And there's people that I work with and partner with who are in property. Property's been hit, music industry's been hit, everything's been completely decimated. Retail, hospitality, all of it, boom. And just want you to know, don't give up. Don't give up. If you're breathing, if you're still in the game, you still keep on going. That goes to young people, to old people, to every single person. So even though our message and our goal is to impact Black boys and young Black men, we want you to know that, and we want everybody around you to know that as well. So bringing on our final speakers for the day. These are an incredible bunch of people. I'm going to add them on very, very shortly. So literally, they're speaking with us after having just finished their session. But they've made time to be here today to speak to us. So big thank you to these group of people. Bear with me. So we're going to have Topsy Balogun, Tops, and then we're going to have Makida, and then from Wasted Talent Project, and also from Creative Connections Limited. So for the young people that are out there that are musically talented, that are artistic, that are actors, wherever it is that you do, these are people for you to listen to. And I just want you to listen to how inspiring they are, regardless of what's happened with the lockdown and the coronavirus. So regardless of what's going on right now, they're still doing their thing and they're still making a difference. I'm going to bring them on right now. Please bear with me. So there's Tops, and here is Makida.
Hey, what's
Hi.
happening? What's happening? All right. Do you know what? Ade?
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you both for being on.
Bro, first of all, thanks for having us on. Second, we're about to start a session, so we haven't even finished the session. And Makida, yeah,
really? Wow.
Yeah.
What's the session about?
Basically, we're working on a film project. So we've got a lot of young actors and directors, and we are director who you'll speak to in a bit.
Marcus.
Yeah. That's
Hello,
right, yeah.
Marcus.
Yeah. And Marcus is a 17-year-old director, but he's going to speak to you because this guy is going to be a serious monster in the industry, 100%. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Well, Marcus, great to have you on. So let me just give us a quick introduction. Then we'll literally go into. I know you've got like a short time with us, so thank you for squeezing this into your busy schedules. So
That's
you kind
cool.
of
No,
you see how
thank
close
you.
my fingers are together. You basically
Thank you
just
for
squeezed it
having
in.
us.
Just squeezed in. So thank you very much. So tell us about Wasted Talent Project. Tell us about Creative Connectors. Go for it. Tell us about you guys.
Okay, so Wasted Talent Project is a creative CIC. So we do like we use like the arts for people to express their experiences. You know what I mean? And then Creative Connectors is something that me and Makeda do, which basically connects anything within the creative industry. So we like to call ourselves the plugs.
Everything. So anything creative, whether that be film content, games, workshops, showcases, anything. So even the back end of things, even if we don't personally do it, we know the right people to connect you with to be able to kind of get the work done, depending on your budget, depending on how long you need it to be done, and depending on how amazing you want the work done as well. So yeah.
Awesome. And how did you guys get started with this?
Wasted Talent. I wrote a film called Wasted Talent, funny enough, which is like a real life scenario about one of my little brother's friends. And I think writing the film, I wrote about loads of different issues that I had growing up. And then I was telling my business partners at the time, like, there's nothing that addresses some of the issues that I've written about. So we set up Wasted Talent. Sorry?
What kind of issues, Tops?
You know, just like, you know when you're a teenager, like you go through the thing of like being peer pressure, don't knowing yourself. And then following certain scenarios that might put you into jail. So the film I wrote about was literally about someone I know growing up, and he ended up going to jail for attempted murder, but he was defending himself. Do you get what I'm saying? So when the charges got dropped, he ended up moving to Australia and starting his own marketing company. And he was 18 at the time, which is like a prime age of when the streets are really hectic. You know what I mean? So it can kind of go one or two ways. And knowing him, he was one of those guys that he was very game. So he was either going to be dead or in jail. So for me, seeing him like deciding, you know what, I'm going to come out of jail and start working and then be successful, that was inspiring to me, because I'm looking at him thinking like, you're a little wrong, so to say. You know what I mean? And you changed your mindset early when it could have gone left for you. Do you get what I'm saying? And then Creative Connectors is just something that me and Makeda are good at networking, and we've got large like networks between us. So we thought it makes sense to set up a company and kind of learn to make money from what we do, what we enjoy doing, shall I say.
Peter Pattern and Penny Pattern. It's actually really funny to kind of add on to the Creative Connector side of things. It was so strange because I think kind of growing up, it was, especially for my generation, we were very much kind of steered away from anything towards like the media route or anything towards kind of what it is that we do now, just because everyone said there's not much in it, there's not much work for you to do, there's no point getting into it. But it was funny because I always naturally knew that I'm just good at talking to people, I'm good at connecting with people, and then I kind of was blessed to kind of meet Tops in the team. And then it was funny because it was kind of like, no, this makes sense, we can actually broker deals and partnerships across the whole creative industries and the different sectors, because we're naturally good at things that not everyone is good at. Communication skills is something that I always tell people, it's one of the top tips I give. Work on it and make sure you work on it day to day, because it's not something easy to grasp, but once you do, it will open doors for you that nothing else will. So it's definitely a great one to kind of get into. So yeah, Creative Connectors is amazing.
But sorry to cut you, Ad. So basically, on the side of that, we actually have a production company which is called Three Pillars Production. So with Wasted Talent, we work with different groups of kids, and then we might select certain individuals that we like and put them in our film project. So you're going to speak to Marcus in a bit, and he can obviously speak about himself, how we met, the kind of things he's doing, and how I think he's a 17-year-old, and he's kind of inspiring to me when I look at him thinking, there's other 17-year-olds that don't really have their head screwed on. This guy knows where he wants to go. I believe he's going to get there as well. And I think if we can help add to what he's already doing, then it bodes well for all of us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for that, Topsy. Makeda, tell us a bit about your background.
My background?
Yeah.
So as in like work-wise or just me as a person?
You as a person, and then work-wise. Definitely you as a person.
Kind of growing up, so I was always kind of a creative, but a bit more different. So I was into a lot of like drama and the arts. Just because kind of everyone told me I'm kind of good at talking, and clearly I've got gift of the gab, which I get from my father. I did law for a little bit, so I kind of went down the corporate route. I realized it wasn't for me very quickly on, like very soon. I kind of realized it kind of stifled my growth in terms of my personality and kind of what I want to put out there. So I was like, this isn't going to work for me. Then obviously I was very blessed to kind of get into like some presenting work and kind of just talking and showcases, and obviously kind of working with like the Wasted Talent. That enabled me to kind of bring it out a little bit more. And obviously, especially when I found out what they were kind of involved in and what they were doing, it was something that kind of hit very close to home. I think a lot of us, especially if you grew up in areas that weren't as privileged, you are very aware of some of the struggles in the community. You're very aware.
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Palmer's Green, so North London. So not necessarily a bad area, I would say, per se, but I went to school in North London that had a range of people. So I grew up with a lot of people from some of the areas that people know, Tottenham, Edmonton, and areas like that, that I've kind of really badly seen in the media. So, but I very early on realized that the kids that you necessarily meet and grow up with aren't necessarily bad people just because their choices weren't necessarily the best. Working with Wasted Talent, it was a perfect avenue for us to be able to showcase all of this talent that they have, but it's often overlooked because of how the media portrays them. So it was amazing. It kind of also gave me an avenue for me to kind of discuss and use my talents and my skills. And then obviously we kind of came across Creative Connectors as something that we could do combined and bring our networks together and see what we can kind of do to further the growth of the youth of today.
That's really good. And what age did you get started? So I'm thinking about those that are going to be on, maybe they're like 10 upwards.
So I'm 25 now. I probably started my creative journey, I want to say my late teens, so more towards the end of secondary school, going into college. I still was kind of those kids that was kind of like, oh, I want to do law, but then I'm also really good at drama. So, oh, which one do I kind of want to do? Yeah, that way. Sorry, guys. Like, you know what I'm currently at? I just finished hosting an event.
That's all right. What are you doing there, Makeda? Marcus, how are you doing?
Sorry.
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, doing really well. Let's see your face. So
Marcus, smile.
So Topsy speaks highly about you. So tell us a bit about you, where you're from, how you got started. Just go for it.
I'm Marcus. I'm from East London. I'm 17. I started directing February of this year. Been acting from young. But yeah,
What age?
What age? What, 15?
I think I met him at 15.
Yeah, 15. So around 15. From there, I just kind of wanted to get into the industry as soon as possible to put a print on it and to put out inspiring messages to young black males and young black youths in general. So I think it was October last year, I basically had a friend and he got stabbed, and it kind of changed my perspective on life and how we can go around helping the youth. So I made a short film called London's Curse about how we can prevent this stuff ever happening again, and how us as a community can come together and stop situations like this that is very preventable. So yeah, I got in touch with Topsy when I was doing the production, and ever since then we clicked again, and now we're on this project. But altogether, I just make short films for the youth to empower them, to show them that there's other ways in this life and there's other ways that you can be successful. And me being 17 doing this type of stuff is kind of what's the word? What would you call it?
Motivation.
Yeah, motivational for the young people to see that. But yeah.
Honestly,
that's really good, man. That's very inspiring.
Marcus has been very he's been very humble as well. Like he's
He's been very humble.
Super talented.
Just to ask you, Marcus, how did you know that this was the way that you wanted to go?
From young, like I always wanted to do acting. Like I remember when I was young, the first film I saw was Star Wars. A lot of people hate Star Wars, innit? But I saw Star Wars, I was like, yo, I want to be in that. So I wanted to know how they did it And ever since then, I just went to acting. I went to acting clubs, acting classes. I then joined Brit School to do film media, to learn about obviously film directing, that type of stuff. And from there, I found a passion into it, and yeah, just went through it.
Awesome. Now, thanks for being on. Makeda, just back to you. I know you were kind of saying hello to somebody.
Sorry about that. No, I was even saying I had someone knocking on the window, like, excuse me, is the event that way?
Like, I'm on the webinar, go away.
That's what happens when you're welcome in person, you see. Everyone comes towards.
Yeah, so you're telling us a bit about your background and how you got started in the industry.
Yeah, so pretty much kind of, it was weird. Like I kind of got into a lot of retail stuff, getting into it, and I realized I was really good at kind of the whole customer side of things, kind of talking to people. So that built up my confidence in it. I started to get into a lot of modeling, but I did a lot of voluntary work. So I would kind of just connect with a lot of my friends who were photographers or videographers and say, hi, come on, let's collab, let's do some work together. So eventually I started building up a portfolio based on that. I started getting booked for a couple of paid gigs, which I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then kind of building on that, like my network kind of just kept growing, and it kept growing, and I kind of kept connecting with the right people. And I decided, hold on, there has to be something I can do with this. I've got all these amazing people, they all somewhat need each other in a way. How can I connect the dots? So Creative Connectors, kind of, that was something that was already embedded in us for a very long time. And I think when we kind of came together and connected our ideas, it made sense, because it was like, amazing, you've got this, I've got that, perfect, we can actually combine all of this together. So yes, I'll say my creative journey probably started when I was still in my teens, did a bit of drama, did a bit of arts. I realized those are the things that interested me, but because of how education system kind of steered me, I kept thinking I had to do something corporate. I had to be in an office doing 9 to 5. I had to do something that involved me writing essays and things like that. Obviously now I realize probably wasted a lot of my time I didn't necessarily need to, but again, it still gave me some amazing life skills that I've got today, so which I'm still thankful for at the end of the day.
So might I just throw in as well that Makeda is actually her own brand, because as much as she likes talking, she forgot to talk about the main thing, that Makeda, Mac.Keda, is actually a website, and she provides a service. So can you tell me about that, please, Makeda? Because you missed it out. Which is crazy. Usually she's got no problem talking about it. So I'm a bit baffled.
So Mac.Keda is...
What is going on with this humility, this false humility?
The one day I encourage it, I don't hear it back. I'm ashamed.
So obviously, see, I'm sitting here trying to support the cause, you know. But yeah, so Mac.Keda is a brand that I've got for myself. So it will obviously help in terms of kind of the youth and empowerment as well, just based on the fact that I am my own brand. So I wanted to find a way that I could market and make money off not being anyone else, not doing anything else, not doing any other role or description but me, just being me. And obviously I realized that people love to buy into me, whether that be via podcasts, whether that be for the showcases, hosting. It's just the energy and the vibes. So I'm someone that Tops will tell you, like, I'm super big on kind of energies, frequency, kind of just being around the right type of people and the right energy. I always tell people, especially young creatives, make sure you've got a right network of people around you, people that uplift you, motivate you, people that always make you want to do better. So if you feel like you are the top of the food chain in your group, you're not pushing yourself. You need 100%. A new group. 100%. You need to be sitting in that room thinking, I'm not doing enough, I need to do more. It'll motivate you and it'll drive you. So Mac.Keda, it's interesting because everyone always asks me kind of what is it, and I'm like, it's me. It's just me. I can't describe it any other way. When you meet me or when you kind of speak to me for a little bit, you get it. I'm a ball of energy, and I can pretty much do everything in the creative space. Aside from obviously all the work I do with Wasted Talent and the partnerships and deals that we make with Creative Connectors. I host, I present, I have 2 podcasts.
Acting in our film as well, might I jump in? You write spoken word, blog. I'm so upset that Makeda's not really blowing her trumpet the way she usually does when there's no one interviewing her. So I'm sorry to draw you out, Mac. Yeah, but no, like, for a 25-year-old, like, young lady, she's good energy to have around. She's a lot different to a lot of other 25-year-olds that I come across who don't seem to know where they're going. She's very focused, motivated, driven. I'm even upset that I'm saying all these things while she's online, but you know what I mean?
He never says this to me, guys. He's just like, yeah.
Yeah. No, but for real,
The
though,
truth is finally coming out.
it is, damn.
So let's say this. So for those that are on, I'd like to go back to Marcus as well very, very shortly. But just to ask you, Makeda, and I go to Tops and I go to Marcus last as well, because it'd be great to get his perspective as a 17-year-old director with incredible talent that's going to take over the world. So Makeda, for the young people that are watching this, whether live or that are playing it back, what would be one tip that you'd give them?
Your network is your net worth. Connect, and build. You never know when you're going to need a person or a service. You're never going to know what that person's going to pick. People that initially met me would have probably thought I would have gone on the route of being a lawyer or something in communications or teaching. I'm a creative. Always keep those connections. Don't burn the bridge unless it's completely necessary. And just remember, your network is your net worth. It's not necessarily what you know, but who you know, especially in the creative field.
So definitely. So the key thing from Makeda is network. So literally network, connect with people, build those relationships, and don't burn the bridges unless you really have to, but keep those connections and keep them be able to connect with them and access them really quickly and really easily. That's what I'm hearing. And what I also heard from what you said earlier as well is really important, that you followed your passion. Like you literally went after what you wanted, and it wasn't going after corporate because the corporate route is where I should really go. You did, and you're doing what you want to do. That's what I hear as well.
Yeah, 100%. It was kind of a shock to the system, kind of getting into it. I think the universe kind of told me you're not on the right path. So a lot happened. I got made redundant. A lot kind of happened in my life that made me go, whoa, you know what? This is a reset. This is a chance for me to reinvent myself. And I think people also need to acknowledge signs. The universe, higher beings are always going to give you a sign of what you should be doing or the path you should be taking in life. And I think definitely listen to it. Like, yeah, your gut feeling, but also listen to the signs that you're being given around you. It will also let you know what you should be doing and what paths you should be walking on.
Brilliant. Thanks, Makeda. Thank you. Let me go to Tops. Marcus, I'm going to come back to you. Yeah. Tip, advice for the young people that are on the line. What's the one thing that you'd give them that would give them in life and make a difference to them in life and in their careers?
I just think believe in yourself, to be honest, like, and anything is really possible. Like, I can't even talk about some of the ideas I have in my head and then it happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to go so far left, but me and Makeda just recently come back from, we was in Malta. And like every month we have a theme with our months. So like September was Synchronicity September. So this is something that Makeda has on her website. You know what I mean? So synchronicity, synchronicity, alignment, all of that. And when you put things out there, these things really happen. Do you get what I'm saying? So I just think like self-belief and like always back yourself. Do you get what I'm saying? I think that's the most important thing. Because as long as you believe in yourself and you, how can I say, as long as you believe in yourself and you let off that energy, people are going to take to you. You know what I mean?
Believe in your own source.
Yeah.
Makeda's is network. Tops is believe in yourself. Brilliant. Marcus.
Yes.
The amazing director. So young persons watching this right now, they're like, do you know what? Yeah, that I resonate with Marcus. I hear what he's saying. What's the one advice you'd give to people your age and younger? Maybe what about your age? What's the one advice that you give them?
Be resilient. Like, even when stuff's tough and life's tough, you still have to keep pushing. You need to be trudging through the mud, going through the trenches, and eventually you'll still get to the goal that you want to be at. Just stay at it, stay persistent, stay having belief, and eventually you'll get to the goals where you want to be. So always stay resilient in these type of fields that you want to be in. But yeah.
Awesome. And tell us about this play that you're directing, which you're going to be doing in about 7 minutes.
Oh, you know what? He looked at me because as much as we can't let off the name, but
okay.
Yeah.
Confidential.
Yeah. You know why? Because the name don't come to the end of it. So
So I have to be quiet.
yeah, it's sticky, man. That's why I looked at it. But put it this way, yeah, we're all about putting out content. Like my business partner always says, we like to give ice cream with the medicine. So we give them what they want, but they get what they need. You know what I'm saying? So we've got loads of content that's going to come out, and we feel it's going to have a big impact, especially the angle we're coming at. So it's some stuff to look forward to. I can't say the name, but
it's going to be good, man. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Goods and understatement. These guys have been humble. We're sitting on gold. Guys. We're sitting on gold.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. Just ask, is it Marcus with a K or with a C? I want to
C with a C.
Marcus Austin.
Marcus Austin, yeah.
So put it out there. And just to ask, so literally, so someone's watched this, but there's a question from a parent. So Joe's asking a question. What is Two Talents' best tips for parents and school kids? So just
I'm guessing, is that for wasted talent?
Or I think that
I think that's a question for wasted talent.
It's wasted talent. So best tips for parents and school kids. Is there anything else you want to say?
So I don't get the question properly. Sorry, say again.
Maybe because we covered the one for children. What would be your tips for parents?
Being more open-minded. I can throw that out
and encourage. Sorry, I think it's just like encouraging, because I think I'm from an era, and I'm sure Ad, you can confirm, like we weren't really motivated to do creative stuff. Like
no way, mate. I'm Nigerian. I'm
Nigerian, brother.
Engineer. If you were like, I want to be an artist.
An artist for what? For how?
Yeah.
How does that happen?
How does that make money? How does that make money?
You know what I mean? Like
music.
Yeah, music for what? You get what I'm saying? So I think really and truly, it's just about encouraging them and support them. Whatever they want to do, even if they might not agree with it or you might not agree with it, just support them anyway, because we all learn. You know what I mean? Like we're all gonna go through a phase where we want to do this, we want to do that, and then we realize that no. And I think one thing I learned as well is when we were younger, a lot of people that were, say, good at football, that was their passion. Like they had a hobby of playing football, but they wanted to follow money. Money ended up putting them in jail. Do you know what I'm saying? But if they stuck to football, they would have made it. You know what I mean? Like I use Jermaine Defoe as a perfect example because we're from the same area. Do you get what I'm saying? And when a lot of people were doing other stuff, Jermaine was playing in the park. Jermaine's gone on to play for England, Tottenham, as much as I don't like him, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But,
yeah, let's not go there.
You know what I mean? But various teams, like he's a prime example from my area that he kept to his graft, and look where it took him, innit? I know other people that were, like, no disrespect to him, were a lot better than him at football, but they've gone to jail, and it's
like what Marcus said, be resilient.
Yeah,
be resilient. Yeah.
I think for parents as well, it's also trying to take an extra interest in what your child does, because you might not necessarily understand it, but your child's going to be able to feel that as well. So you can sit there and pretend to be supportive, but actually take an interest in what your child's doing, because clearly if that's something that drives their passion and growth and motivates them, you need to also feed into that as well. What is that?
It goes back to the energy. If you let off negative energy, you're going to pick up that negative energy. You know what I mean? If you're sitting down feeling all vibrant and stuff, people are going to gravitate.
Awesome. Well, thank you very, very much. I know you, like I said earlier, guys, you basically squeezed us in. Can you see how close these fingers are together?
Yeah. Do you know what it is? Yeah, we squeezed you in so much, Makida's late for rehearsal.
But yeah, do you know what? We'll bring you guys back. We're going to put your details on our website. So any parents or young people that are out there that are interested in what Wasted Talent and Creative Connections are doing, literally their details will be on our site. Reach out to them and just create incredible things. So thank you for being on. We'll have you. We'll bring you back for a longer session next time. But thank you very, very much for being on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. All right, bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Right. So thank you for being on. I'm literally coming to an end of this session. Bear with me, and we're going to be done. We've got 2 minutes to be done with this, so let's go. I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for being on today. I hope you found that really, really useful. I hope you find that really, really beneficial. And I want to share my screen with you before we go. Let's see, is it going to work with me? Yes, let's have a look. I think the technology is still working. Oh, yes. I'm being resilient with the technology. Hey, it's worked. Awesome. Let me do this one. So lots of incredible speakers today. Jazz literally spoke about money mastery, gave you the details for parents and young people to reach out to him to do even better with finances. It's a key thing at a point like this. But then I spoke about perception and the power of perception, and I gave you those tips to really impact and shape your perception how you want it to go. And then Nana shared this incredible story, incredible journey about grit, determination, and pressing forward, and now he's doing phenomenal things for lots of different people. And we just had the team from Wasted Talent talk about what they're doing, and we also had Marcus on board. So that wasn't advertised, but Marcus was available to be on the session with us. So I hope that you find that all very, very useful. And I'm leaving you with this quote, simply this: if you're still breathing, you're still in the game. So keep playing. So it's not time to give up. So please keep on going. And we're back again tomorrow for the last part of October's 1000 Black Boys. And we've got a date. For those of you that be here tomorrow, you find out more about this. We're doing our next event. It's going to be December 11th. It's a Friday. It's going to be our 2nd year anniversary. But for those of you that are not going to be here tomorrow, we'll see you in December. For those of you that will be here tomorrow, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great one. And, you know, let's transform the world. We can do it. Have a great evening and all the best. Bye-bye. If you're still there, you can still leave us your feedback and how you found the session. Thank you very much.